Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mike Kollin at MikeKollin.com. Okay, so one of the realizations that I've had recently, last few months, it's really become clear. Just a level of clarity is my purpose on the planet is to, how do I say this right? Is to get you to open back up to God. And the battle that I have, or the challenge that I have, is the amount of lies that you have been told since you're a little child, and in the movies and music and songs and in the community, etc. Now, what I'm about to say is a very normal thing that you hear in church constantly. You hear it on YouTube, videos of church sermons, etc. Is you were told essentially that you were bad, that you're not worthy of not only the love of God, but there's another one, like you're just not worthy of heaven, you're just not worthy, you're not good enough. That's just not true. So one thing we learn about the Bible is if you read it from the left brain, that's the rules brain. So it's going to filter everything and turn it into a set of rules, a set of right or wrong. That's the two-dimensional brain. That's the two-dimensional thinking, okay? It's like a flat piece of paper. You draw length and width. Well, the third dimension is length, width, and height. That's the right brain, okay? So this is where Jesus was coming from, the emotional, creative, spiritual right brain. Now, this video is essentially part 2 from the last video, okay? So I'm going to brief about those pieces. I want to clarify it a little bit more. So here's all we're doing. We're gonna leave the two-dimensional brain, the either-or brain, and we're opening up to the right brain, the and both plus and more brain. It's the brain that is the addition brain versus the either-or minus sign left brain. So essentially, when you're operating off of the lower brain, the left brain, you are in the two-dimensional brain. This is the brain that is either-or. So this is when you're closed off from the right brain. When you open up to the right brain, now you're in the and both. You're in the 1 + 1 = 2 versus the left brain is, well, it's either A or it's B. There's no other possibility. That's a very normal male left brain way of thinking. The right brain is about options and possibilities. That's why it's the creative brain. All right, so now remember, like what do church people call God? The great creator, the creator of the universe, right? And in the book of Genesis it says he essentially breathed into Adam and boom, Adam came to life. And he said, let there be light, and there was light. And he created the earth and the heavens, etc. in 7 days. And on the 7th day he rested. Well, what do they say about all of this? They say it's God's creation. Creation. So the left brain is about rule, structure, and organization. It's the logical brain. It's a logical processor. The right brain is about is the emotional, creative, spiritual brain. Wait a minute. Did he say creative? Did he say spiritual? Wait, what is God? He's the creator. He created things? And did they not say make them in our image? Creators? Why, yes, that is what it says. The whole purpose of mankind, the whole purpose of the earth was for us to be creative. It's about music, it's about art, it's about poetry, it's about creating a wonderful life. Life is a gift from God that was meant to be enjoyed. Write that down. That was the final message that God gave me through my 6-month awakening. Every night when I would go to bed, It was like classroom time. I'm not kidding. I'd fall asleep, and after a few months of this, because it was kind of exhausting in a way, and I remember going to bed one night about the second or third month going, oh yeah, that's right. Okay, God, I'm ready. It's back for class time. And when I'd fall asleep, I would wake up into this, call it another dimension, another world, and it was like lesson time. So the very last one, when I went to sleep, when I woke up into this, class time, this other world, this other dimension, I was kind of sad, and I knew this was the last lesson. I was sad because I realized that this was the end of this experience I was having for 6 months, and it was like, I didn't think it was going to end. I thought I was going to be this way for the rest of my life. So years later, I realized that experience was what was going to become my daily experience without God having to do this thing with me. It was like I was eventually going to be able to develop myself to a level of being in that space on a regular basis to where I could get intuitive downloads from God at a moment's notice. So here's what happened. So I was waiting there, and it was just blank space. It was like almost like the space without the stars, like there was just nothingness. And I was waiting and waiting, not realizing that was part of the lesson. It was like there was nothingness. And I didn't get it right away, but I remember at one point I'm kind of like, yeah, okay, God, like I'm ready. Let's go. And then out of nowhere, it was like a chalk, like he took a piece of chalk, but there was really no chalk or anything there. But he drew a line up and above from left to right, and then he drew it down, and then he went back from right to left, and he drew up, and I was like, oh, he drew a rectangle. By the way, the lessons were extremely symbolic, very vague, very symbolic, because when you learn through symbols, you get massive amounts of information. So once again, I sat there and I'm looking at this rectangle, and I'm kind of going like, what? Because the lessons before were not like this. It was kind of like, boom, you draw something, wait, then another, wait. But it was faster. Not fast, but it was a little bit more rhythmic, right? A little bit more tempo. And I'm just like, what am I staring at? I'm like, oh, the first line on the left is the alpha, and on the right is the omega. This is the beginning and it's the end. I was like, okay. And now at the time I didn't quite get what he was saying, but I did get the message, like there's a beginning and there's an end to this. I'm like, okay. And the other lesson that I learned was, look, this is the spirit world. It's always here. It's always been here. It's always going to be here. You will always exist. And then the next realization was, oh, wait a minute. So all of a sudden there was streaks like kind of like comets falling from outside of the box into the rectangle, I should say, into the rectangle. And I was like, what is that? And I was like, oh, that's us. Okay. So they were coming into this experience. I was like, wait a minute, okay. And I was like, okay, so those are the spirits. I'm like, okay. And then all of a sudden in the bottom left-hand corner, there was just one tiny, and when I mean tiny, I mean one, not even molecule, but like, not even atom, but like an electron, a spark. Boom. Just the tiniest little spark. And all the way across from left to right, from bottom left to upper right, everything started to have contrast. That spark of negativity, by the way, that was the spark of negativity. I forgot to tell you that part. Because here's the deal. Okay, here's the other lesson. Everything was 100% positive. All positive, we'll call it electrons, right? Positive energy, positive electrons. And because everything was positive, there was, it's like in the Bible it says like the angels are there, but they don't know they're there. That's the same with us. We were always there. We just didn't know we were there until God gave us contrast with negativity. In other words, the angels didn't even know that they existed, even though they did, because everything was pure positivity. See, without some kind of contrast, you can't know that you exist. So now, all of a sudden, you have depth, you have color, you have sound. See, even when you strum an electric guitar string, that's contrast, okay? Contrast with the other strings, it contrasts with the vibration, it contrasts with the air. So contrast gives you the five senses: see, hear, feel, smell, and taste, etc., etc. And this is what gives you experience. Height, depth, width, color, flavors, smells, tastes, vibrancies, vibrant colors, etc. This is what makes music sound beautiful. This is what makes women look beautiful. It's like the whole idea of contrast is not to go against it, but to work with it. And sometimes to go against it to cause contrast in music. Now here's the deal. What we're experiencing now was never meant to be experienced. In other words, you'll hear this belief from people. Well, the more negativity, the more positivity, because it's what do they call it? They call it equal. What's the word I'm looking for? Hold on, give me 1 second. Well, it's an equal and opposite reaction. No. When it comes to this, we were never meant to experience the levels of negativity on the planet that we're experiencing now. This was never, ever, ever meant to be. This was not a creation of God. So some of my students might say, but Mike, I thought you said in order to experience the good things, pleasure, like good food, sound, music, you have to experience negative things. Yeah, but only a small fraction. It's not like a 50-50 deal where now if you want more pleasure, you got to have more pain in order to have contrast. No, you don't need to have 50% equal pain in order to have 50% equal pleasure. So that is the work of the serpent in the garden, etc., the fall of man, the fall of the angels, whatever you want to call it. That was never part of the intention. Now here's the really cool thing. The way you experience more, what do I call this? It is pleasure, it is joy. The way you experience more of the goodness of life is by becoming neutral. So the more you meditate, the more you calm yourself inside, the more open you become, the more you experience life. It is a wonderful, like one of the most wonderful emotions and experience that I experience on a daily basis is compassion. And I mean a real, deep, genuine love and compassion. And again, this is something I teach with my clients, my coaching clients. It all has to do with a series of techniques on how to reconnect with yourself inside to become emotionally grounded, down to earth, and at the same time learning how to open up while you're grounded. Okay, so my overall purpose is to help you and show you how to open up. So I found this Lady Gaga song, and this is the words in her song. She says, "You found the light in me that I couldn't find." So again, we go back to the people climbing the mountain and finding the monk way up in the mountain and inside the cave. It's freezing cold outside. And they say, "I'm trying to find myself." And it's like, what did she say here? You found the light where? Inside. What did Jesus say? Look within. You found the light in me that I couldn't find. So you look within and you connect with your power, which is of God. See, the thing that you have to do, okay, so I was going to make another video, but I'm going to give it away here, the title was going to be something like how to bring God or ask God to come inside. And essentially that's what you do. Number one, you ask God to come inside you. You ask the Spirit of God to literally physically come inside you. Now, how do you this is what the title should be if I'm going to make another video. It says, how do you invite God inside? You create this emotional, loving, warmth, comforting feeling inside your body. Happiness, joy, love, warmth, comfort, where kind of like you're being held, but like by your mother, your father, someone that you're close to, or maybe your favorite boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever. So you create an environment where you're at peace with yourself, where you're at one with yourself. That's what meditation is so important. So your left and right hemisphere can be on the same wavelength. See, most people are not at one. They are not atone, or they don't have atonement. Atonement literally means at one, atone. So atonement literally means when your left hemisphere and your right hemisphere are on the same wavelength. Most people's left hemisphere is going fast, up and down, herky-jerky, and the right brain might be going slow and up and big, rounded off peaks, whereas the left brain is spiky, pointy peaks going up and down, up and down. So they're at different rhythms. So we need to get you at the same rhythms, the left and the right brain, the same wavelength, the same rhythm. So that's a course and technique. So let's read this. It says, that Arizona sky burning in your eyes. You look at me, babe. You look at me and babe, I want to catch on fire. It's buried in my soul like California gold. You found the light in me. Let's see, what does it say here? Hold on. That I couldn't find. I mean, this is it. It's the Holy Grail inside of you. We live in a Western world, especially, the Western world, do you know what that means? It means left brain. The Western world is the left brain people. The Eastern world is the right brain people. They tend to be more at peace. They tend to flow together. They tend to work together, etc. Now, there's ups and downs for both, but the left brain people tend to be external, whereas the right brain people is internal. So what she is essentially saying is, like, you found the light in me that I couldn't find, because she was looking for it in someone else outside of her body, externally. Okay, so this is why it's so important to come back inside and reconnect internally with ourself, with our own power, with our own light, with our own love, with our own joy. Once you do that, you will never ever put up with narcissist bullshit ever again, or anyone being negative to you at all. You'll just be like, yeah, I'm not dealing with that, because you found your happiness, you found your joy. All of a sudden, life becomes this amazing place to be and experience. How much does God love you? I am going to flip your brain in the next section right now. First of all, you have to remember, we are different than those people. That's something that I become very distinct when you read the Bible. Well, who is God talking to? Well, God was talking to the devil right there. And yet you go to church to see what God says and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, to the devil, not to us. And then God talks to Cain, or talks about Cain, or, or what I call demonic narcissist. And then the pastor's like, see, we're all this, we're all... Like, no, that's not... God didn't say that we were like that. Maybe you're like that. Maybe the people in the pews are like that, but we're not like that. I've met people who are very devout Christians, and they're like, no, when you die, you're dead. It's over. Oh, you young people just think you're going to live forever. Like, I'm like, no, that's not what I meant. I meant spiritually, like, you're not going to die. But narcissists know that when it's over, it's over. For them, not for you, not for us. So I'm going to show you how special you are. And this is the thing that you were lied to about. When you finally understand this, and I mean really understand it, it's all going to change for you. So one thing that we learn about empaths is they say, I think we make up like 5% of the planet or something like that. And narcissists, real like demonic narcissists make up like 9% or something like that. So there's not a lot of us here. Now let's talk about scapegoats, which is essentially what we were or are, okay? Again, out of an entire family, how many scapegoats are there? Usually one. Out of a group of friends, there's usually one. Out of a business, there's usually one, maybe two if there's different departments. In other words, there's not very many of us here. Your world is about to change. First of all, what I want to say is there are a lot of really, really good people, and God loves them very, very much. And I mean that sincerely. There's no ifs and or buts about it. They're going to heaven. God loves them. God protects them. They're good-hearted people, and they're just loved by God. So if you're a scapegoat, here's the deal. You were beaten down. You were taught at a very young age that you're nothing, you're not worthy, you're going to hell. You're just all these like the things that your parents and siblings and people at school, the stuff that people said to you was unbelievable. And the things they did to you was unbelievable. Physically, the beatings, the shaming, the yelling, and just the screaming. So by the time you're 8 years old, you have no self-esteem, you have no self-worth. You're just this scared, shattered little being. Jesus, when he was a child, he was a very well protected and very well taken care of child. His father very much loved him. The teachers very much respected him at a very young age. He was not bullied. He was not shamed. He was not beaten up. He was not anything until the very end, and he went through it. But you've been going through it since you were probably 5 months old, 8 months old, 1 year old. You've been physically beaten, you've been tortured, some of you have been raped, you've been drugged, you have been shamed by teachers, siblings, classmates, coaches, you name it, and it never stops. You go to work, you're getting humiliated, you're getting laughed at, you're being ostracized. You have been going through hell your entire life. And you were convinced. You were told things, well, God, I had some jackass say this to me over the summer. He's the one who made the word salad video about, that God, if you were close to God, then God wouldn't let this happen to you. God would protect you. So you were convinced that God didn't love you, that you weren't good, that you weren't high, that you weren't worthy, that you were just this guilty, shameful being. Now, look at what this guy says. When you get attacked, thank God. That means Christ is really very close with you. So I looked at this guy who was a supposed Christian. By the way, he belongs to a cult. There's no two ways about it. And I look at this guy, I'm like, have you ever actually read the teachings of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John? He goes, well, why? I go, because Jesus actually says quite the opposite. He says if you're close to me, they're going to attack you. And because of me, that's why they're going to do that. By the way, this guy, I don't know, I've seen him on YouTube a few times. I love the way that he's really powerful. And he just kicks ass. This guy does not beat around the bush. So, I don't know his name. I can't remember it. When I look it up, I'll put it down somewhere. So, let's go to the next clip. So he says, Satan will not attack someone who is lost, because he doesn't need to attack you. If you're off path, if you're not close to Jesus, if you're not close to God, it's like he's not going to mess with you. So he goes on to say, Satan will only attack those whom Christ is dwelling in them with mightiness. In other words, if you've been under attack your entire life, if you went through that demonic narcissist attack, it's because Jesus Christ, the Lord God, the Spirit, is inside you so powerfully that it terrifies Satan, and he's doing everything he can to get it out of you. Alright, that may not have been the smoothest way to say it, but the point being is this. You are close to God. You always have been. And that's why everyone tried to convince you that you weren't worthy. That's why you were treated differently than other people. That's why you were attacked the most. That's why you were the scapegoat. That's why you were constantly yelled at and told you're no good and you're this horrible monster, you're this bad person, you're no good. It's because they know that you are the good one. They know that you are the one that's worthy. They know that you are close to God, and they're jealous. Otherwise, they wouldn't have cared. They wouldn't have bothered you. They literally wouldn't have wasted an ounce of energy trying to hurt you. The whole reason they're doing this is because you're the one that's close. Alright, so I'm going to make another video. I want to put a part 3 to this, but I'm going to try to find a short way to explain to you how much God loves you and how much God is in your corner. I know your whole life you were told the opposite, but here's the deal. Okay, I think I got it. So you're the scapegoat. You're the black sheep of the family, etc., right? You're the one everyone blamed, and you're bad, blah, 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 and they took their anger and hurt out on, right? I don't think you quite understand the league that you are in. There's only one other being that's in your league. They call him Jesus Christ. The ultimate scapegoat. Just like you. Most of you probably didn't have a mother and father that protected you. Most of you probably didn't have a mother and father that respected you at birth, who protected you against other people, your siblings, etc., who were just beaming with absolute pride and joy every time they saw you, every time they listened to you speak. But Jesus' parents did that to him. The teachers, the priests, the whatever they called them, ministers back then, the elders, had absolute awe, amazement, respect when Jesus spoke. You didn't receive that treatment. You weren't treated like a god when you were a child. You weren't treated like you were this Einstein or this amazing being. No, you were yelled at. You were beaten down. You were suspended unfairly. You were given detentions. You were constantly being shamed by teacher after teacher after teacher. You were being beaten by your family members. You were being told that you were no good. You were yelled at and screamed at, physically beaten, raped, and God knows what else. I don't think you're understanding what I'm saying. I don't think you get what I'm saying to you. You fought the hard fight, and you didn't do it for a day or a couple days or a week. You did it for decades, and God sees this. God knows what you've been through. And God knows that you're hurting. And God, not only is He crying for you, He is proud of you. You are being exalted. You are standing next to Christ. You fought the good fight. He knows you've made mistakes. He knows you've been tricked. He knows you've been manipulated. He knows you've been hurt. He knows that you were so confused and yet you kept going through into the good fight. He knows this. He's not mad at you for the mistakes that you've made. He's proud of you. He's beaming with pride at you. Because you have made him proud. I don't know, explain this. I mean, he's just being with, like he can't wait for you to come home. all the angels, all the angelic beings in the angelic realm, they're very, very aware of this. They are watching God looking down upon you and smiling. For now, just know that God is very, very happy with you, very proud of you. Alright, God bless you guys. It's the end of this video. If you like, go ahead and click subscribe, click the like button, make a comment, and I'll see you in the next video. If you want, go ahead and make a donation. There's a PayPal link right there in the description box, about a third of the way down. That's it. This is the end of the video. I'll let the music play for a few more minutes, and I will see you in the next video. Alright, bye-bye.